Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kira's show here. Now, I'm done with work, as you can tell. Now, let us begin. When we last left off, Kendo had just been, she got her entire worldview changed by the fact that every single person she's just met is an alien. Well, Deku and everyone else basically being them by definition, but with the fact that they are born on Earth, gives them the exception. Since, from what she can tell, they've spent the majority of their life in space. Now, let us begin. This is whenever everyone would finally get back on the ship after a full day. I do believe they are 4 days, if not 5 days, into their journey. I want to round that up to 5 days, if not, let's round that up to a majority of 5 days. So they still have a full week to be in space. But Deku, he would just think of one simple thing. They've done enough hunting with xenomorphs, so they'll just go back to Earth. But they'll at least stay out in space and train. So they'll be able to loop around the system, if not come around and try out the new modifications. So this is whenever they're just talking in the command room, and Deku would just be trying to plot a course. That'll give them enough time to be in space and come back to Earth, if not loop around. Now, Deku, he's looking at this, as this is whenever Momo, if not everyone, would just start asking if they should at least try and find a simple way. Deku, he would have been open to suggestions, as someone would just loop around a particular system. The only way to essentially make the trip long enough with the new modifications is to loop through this whole place. So Deku considers it to be a simple thing to do. So he at least does set the autopilot and set the ship to travel as they blast off. Now then, Deku actually does think about simple things, if not try and get some more rest in. As him still being up on this injury, it's not good, but he should at least try and rest. As he would just go into the kitchen and look for something to eat. As he would make a snack, he would just be walking by the training room. As he sees Kendo, she is trying to train with a staff Momo made her, and Deku's just a bit curious, as he would walk in and immediately just place his plate and sit down on the wall, as he watches her train with Uraka. Uraka is going a bit easy on her, as she does have 2 batons, and she's just guiding her through, if not showing her to bring it down, slowly swinging it, don't block here. She moves her left hand forward, blocking that one. And they get more complex with the motions until they're basically in full-on combat. As Deku's watching this. Now, he is watching as one thing that happens is whenever Uraka does actually throw her weapon, if not bash it out of her hand, she immediately just grows her fist in size, as she does so and immediately just drops to the ground. Deku just staring at this, as he actually just asks her one simple question. Why can't you control how big those things get? She would explain that she can, it's just that they're a bit odd. Along with the fact that if she does try and make them too big, it actually does hurt her. If not, it draws too much blood. But doing this, if not this height, is perfectly fine. Deku would have been confused, as he does ask if she can just make herself bigger, if not try and increase in size. She doesn't understand until she watches Deku go over to a machine. This machine immediately starts putting pressure down on Deku, as he's just holding his hands up. Eventually it gets to the point where he's down on his knees, and he is just holding this thing up. Like, if you guys have ever seen, I believe it's, I don't remember who it is, but it's from a Greek mythology, or I believe Roman, where it's that guy who's holding up the world. It's basically Deku doing that with his shoulders and the back of his spine. As she watches Deku actually he actually does grow in size and increase, essentially being able to push it completely upwards, copying the exact force that was coming down on him, as he is holding it up with both hands. He would immediately just step out as the machine turns off, and immediately just show her what he means, as he is currently 8 foot tall. She's in shock as Momo would walk in. She just stares up at Deku as she tells him that they have a bit of a problem. Deku's a bit confused as she would guide Deku past Mei's workshop, where Deku does actually peek in for a second, seeing Mei work on something. But he immediately just gets dragged away by Momo, as he can't figure out what that odd fluid he saw was. Now, Deku, he immediately comes over to the console, as he actually does bring it upwards and slide it on screen, as they have a distress beacon. This is a bit odd to Deku, but it at least provides something. It's coming from a nearby planetoid, so they might as well land on it. Now, they would land on the planet, as they actually do scan the atmosphere. It is good for humans, but not knowing what's out there would be good for them to wear their mask. Now, Deku, he immediately does that, as he puts his on and immediately walks outside. Scanning the planet, he immediately just brings his hands together, ready to pull out his blades, as he actually does inspect the crashed ship. This thing looks like a giant, well, it's a bit odd, the way it looks. It looks like Predator tech, but at the same time it doesn't. But from what he's seen, it also may mimic Engineer tech, which is strange. He does walk around the ship and examine a bit more, and as he does eventually get tired of this. Pulling out his blades, he immediately stabs into the wall, slicing a hole open, as he does walk through. As he is walking through, he actually does notice that there's some slime on the ground. So he immediately just turns on his infrared as he is scanning for xenomorphs, as this slime is similar to what's in their hive. Now, after that happened, Deku, he is walking through. So is everyone. They're all looking for life signs, if not any life forms on the planet, as this is not working. If not, they're not finding anything. Now, eventually, Deku, he would walk around a corner as he would hear something, immediately just aiming his hand out and getting ready to, stab at it. As that happens, Deku, he immediately just gets tackled. Well, basically, he comes around a corner and he immediately gets grabbed, if not tackled, through into a room. As he immediately just, the door shuts behind them, as Deku, he would actually just force over, if not turn this person to the ground, slamming their own body weight against them. Deku immediately just brings out one of his, he brings out one of the blades in his gauntlet, as he immediately stabs it into next to the man's face, asking exactly who he is. Now, this blonde man, he would just bring his hand up, as he would just say that he's no one. In fact, it is quite odd to see predators here. I'm not a predator. Interesting. Then, what are you? I'm human. As Deku would just get off the man. The man is a bit confused, as he's never seen a human wearing Gouge tech. In fact, he tries to avoid those. Now, Deku, he's a bit confused as to what this man is, if not who he is. As David, would go on explaining that he is a synthetic. He's not sure what happened, but, well, he's in space, apparently. He has no memory or recollection of how he got here, as he's lying to Deku. Deku's not sure what he even means, as he actually does try scanning David for life, not finding anything. Now, Deku would immediately turn his head, as he does see the door with holes in it, if not having dents pushed into it. Deku just immediately pushing David 3 steps out of the way, as he takes 2 steps backwards. As Momo just punches the door once more, blasting it off its hinges. As she walks in, she immediately looks to her right and she looks to her left, seeing Deku on one side, this man on the other. Well, you haven't killed him, so I'm guessing he's friendly. I'm not sure. Considering the fact is, he's a synthetic, so it's why we didn't pick him up. Synthetic? Yeah, apparently. He's not human. At the same time, he is. He's human tech. May would just immediately run in hearing that, as she runs up to David asking him if he's a cyborg. Well, no, actually. I believe the corporation was Waylin. That's odd. I do not seem to be able to find it in my memory banks. But there is a logo. Mr. Wayland. So, Wayland? No, I do not believe that is it. The right way to pronounce it would be... Now, David would just immediately lead them back through, if not further into the ship, as Deku does see some oddities around. He sees that David does keep trophies of the native life on the planet, if not some primitive species. They are looking through as everyone's a bit creeped out. A synthetic collecting trophies is something weird, but especially since he's not considered to be a Yaoja. So this is a bit off-putting, although not abnormal. Now, Deku, him and everyone else will be walking through as they are coming through more and more things, actually seeing a xenomorph in a tube, which somewhat puts Deku off. These... how do you have it in a tube? Oh, yes. You see, I've been replicating one. Trying to figure this out. Trying to, well, change them. I can tell. So, why... can I ask why it doesn't have a tail? Ah, yes, this is one of my greatest creations. You see, it's... As David actually does pull out the record system. He does go through it, and Deku actually does see quite a bit of information. Apparently, some humans did crash on the planet. In fact, this is another team, if not another group of kids, from the Predator's ship. He's watching as some of them are actually running away, if not trying to get throughout the planet, as a xenomorph will pop on screen and immediately start abducting the children, if not kill one and then take the other to the nest. Now, Deku's a bit more in shock as he immediately just orders the autopilot on the ship to bring the ship up, if not get it off the ground. Now, the ship actually does respond by clicking and immediately just jumping upward into the air, if not flying upwards. Now, that being said, David does look a bit puzzled at Deku, as Deku goes on saying that this is a bit, well, off. He's never met, let alone heard of a synthetic back on Earth. Ah, yes, well, I do believe Only the elites have heard of us. Elites? Well, yes, we were quite expensive. I believe just me alone, I would have cost 1.5 billion, I believe. I believe that is, from my calculations, today's currency. Or, there. Inflation. There we go. Now, David, he would still be trying to talk with Deku, if not convince him, as he does show him a bit of notes. Deku, looking down at these, he's a bit distrustful of them, as he does one simple thing. He immediately just walks up to the glass, looking up at this thing. It's a neomorph. This is a bit odd. He immediately starts walking around as he does see it, and he immediately begins looking at the other tubes, seeing it in different stages, if not different ways of its life cycle. There is a very, very small one, which is about the size of a puppy. There's this one that's about the size of, if not bigger than Deku. There's everything in between. Deku is staring at some of these, as he would just tell David that this is a bit preposterous. As one of the neomorphs does come to life, one of the ones smaller than the neomorph in the movies, if not around the size of a dog, do actually wake up, as they are staring at Deku and they're essentially tapping on the glass, if not trying to get Deku's attention. Deku would just turn his head looking at it, as this thing actually is weird to Deku, if not very foreign. So, he begrudgingly just tells David that they are going to leave. David would just say that he can try, or he can just take one of these if he would like. If not, he can have one. Deku is still distrustful of this, as he just immediately walks over to David, immediately just pushing him against the wall, stabbing a blade next to his head, telling him why exactly he's offering this so easily. David would just say that he's a man of his word. He's not programmed to harm humans. He is programmed just to follow a directive. Now, Deku would just ask what his directive really is. Well, you see, my directive is to be whatever I please, whatever I want to be. Mr. Wayland told me that, well, I was one of his greatest creations. I do not age. I do not eat. I do not drink. I do not feel pain or pity. I'm simply just here to observe. So, he believed me to be perfect. So, I believe myself to be perfect. This is my directive. Now, I'm offering you one of these because I would like to see how it would perform in the wild. Well, space being relatively close to the wild. I have sent one out before, but it has not come back. So, you want us to run this little experiment for you, and we don't even know you. How do we know this thing won't just grow to full size and drag us back here? Well, it's fairly complicated. From what I know, this is capable of learning. Just up to a certain mental age. That age being, I believe, around 6 or 7 years old to a human child. I'm fairly certain. But that is still testing. Deku would just hear that word again. Testing. Now, Deku would just do one thing, as he immediately just brings a knife up, stabbing it into David's arm, and twisting it, as he just makes David stuck on the wall. David, he immediately just does try to pull the knife out, as he can't actually do it, just tugging at it more and more until Deku does see his white blood. So you aren't human. Good. He just turns around walking over to the glass, as he just stares at this giant thing. He does bring his hand up to it, as he just presses down on it. David's curious at what Deku's doing as he actually just sees cracks forming. Deku doing so and immediately just grabbing the Neomorph, ripping its head off. As he begins to do so for the rest. Everyone's a bit confused as Deku is doing this, destroying and tearing through them at various stages of its life, until he does get to the smaller one. Actually looking down, if not picking up the pod the one that looked at him is in. Huh. Well, do me one favor. I will take this one. Only, and only if, you do not create any more of these things. How did you even make them? Tell me, did you use one of those children? Well, no. Quite simply, I did not ask that question. Did you use one of the children? No. I believe, well, a human colleague I had. She was dying, and she did not, well, she always wanted to create life. So I asked her if I could use her in an experiment. She said yes. That doctor was the nicest person to me. In fact, I would consider her to be like my mother. But I do not have one. Just the closest thing a human would know, if not, well, understand. So, please, just understand I did not use a human. I did not want to be in my experiment. These are her legacy, the only thing she has left. That never shows she was here. Besides, well, this. As David would just show Deku the scarring, if not the patchwork, on his neck. He would just ask if a Yaoja did that. Well, no, actually, an engineer. Oh. Well. Okay, then. That's a bit difficult to understand. Well, I don't expect you to understand. I met one of our last creator on that planet. You mean Planet 4? I'm sorry? Planet 4. That's what I call it. Or the Yaoja have it under. Yes, that's exactly the planet. Have you been there? Yes, actually I have. And what happened on the planet? Well, you see, we took the heads of 24 engineers. Oh, I did not expect that. Neither did they. In fact, we killed a lot of warriors. And I learned a lot about myself. As Deku would just open up the pod from the top. This little Neomorph does actually just jump out, and immediately just try cuddling up to Deku's leg, as Deku just looks down at it. So, what exactly is this one? Well, yes, I do believe this one's on. Why is it bipedal? Yes. It's bipedal because I use something similar to a dog on this planet, if not similar to a feline. It is not sure how, but the species, I believe it did exist on Earth, before the two diverged. What are you talking about? Dogs and cats share an ancestor. They share it because the DNA strands are similar. Although, this feline or animal I did have was just that. Nearly identical in genetics. But, well, I used it in the experiment. Okay, so that explains that. But just tell me one thing. Why is it hairless? Well, it is still in its infancy. It does need time to grow hair. I don't think... I think it needs time. You're not sure? Well, these are experiments, Mr. Just call me Midoriya. Midoriya. Okay. These take time. So, Well, I would offer to take you back to Earth, but I can tell you're staying here. So, as Deku would just walk over, pulling his knife out of the wall. I will take this one off your hands. If not, let's hope it can hunt. Hunt? Yes, you said it had the abilities of an, well, dog or a cat, correct? So that means it hunts. Well, yes, actually, but... But what? You said you wanted it field tested. Or at least off planet. So this is my answer to that. We're gonna see if it can be a good dog. As Deku actually just kneeled down, somewhat tapping on its head. Now, Momo, if not Kendo, and everyone are just still somewhat confused by this. As Deku would just look at them and ask them if this is a good idea. Which everyone will respond with maybe. As Kendo just staring at them. Still a bit confused. Momo just saying that, well, if it's any consolation, even if that thing does act out of line, one of us can just kill it. Which everyone just stares at her. What? I'm just saying. Besides, hey, don't look at me like that. As he just immediately points over to Mina. Why are you bringing me into this? Deku had to tell you to finish off an engineer. You're still on that. You aimed for its arm. Aim for the face. You should have gone for the head. Whoever does not get that reference, I'm sorry. That is cringy. Oh wow, I'm going on for very long. I thought I was only at 16 minutes. Now, this is whenever everyone would just take the neomorph, if not the, well, creature that is, I'm just going to call it the dog neomorph. They would take it, and they would blast off into space once again, as Walter is just looking up at the stars, somewhat happy. One of his creations will survive somewhere in the universe. Now, that is where I'm going to be leaving things off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I will catch you guys in the next part because I did not think this was that long. So I'm ending it here.